Debbie's Back Porch. Hope you're doing well tonight. I'm making dessert. You know, you don't see me make a lot of desserts. But occasionally, Fred craves a dessert, and I'll make us one. Usually it has eggs in it, not always. I make a lot of egg custard. And I'm kind of in a custard mood tonight, but I'm not going to make an egg custard. I'm going to make a rice pudding. And I'm going to try to make it the way my grandmother made it. And that was like a custard. And I'm going to assemble all the parts here and kind of show you what I've got. And what I think makes a rice pudding really, really great is the rice. And I have here some Arborio rice. Now, if you're not familiar with Arborio rice, it's a short grain, very, very starchy Italian style rice. It's the rice that's often used in risotto. And you can pick this up at the Kroger or whatever major grocery store you have. This is a brand that we often use, and I love this rice. But it's different. It's not like most rice that you're used to cooking, and I'll show you that in this video. So I have in here 3 cups of milk, and then I'm going to use an extra 1/4 cup of cream, or half and half. I think I have half and half. But 3 cups in here, and I'm scalding this. It's getting warm. It's just not warm yet. And I have 1 cup of the Arborio rice. I have half cup of white sugar or Splenda, your choice. I have 1/4 cup of brown sugar or artificial brown sugar, your choice. I have 2 eggs. Cinnamon, vanilla. I'm using extract. If you have a vanilla bean, you should use that. And kosher salt. And I guess you'd call this a knob of butter. It's like a double pat. I'm not quite sure, maybe an ounce. Plus I have a half stick of butter that I'm using for the rice. Okay, people often ask, what does it mean to scald milk? And if you can see, this milk is forming bubbles up around the side. There's steam coming off of it. This is scalded milk. I'm going to talk over Fred's tractor. So when it comes to that temperature, I'm going to turn it down to about 2, and this is a simmer eye, meaning it doesn't really get hot. You definitely do not want this milk to come to a boil. I'm going to add about a 1/4 teaspoonful of vanilla. The half cup of white sweetener or white sugar, whichever you're using. The 1/4 cup of brown sugar or brown sweetener, whichever you're using. A sprinkle, about a 1/4 teaspoonful, about an 1/8 teaspoonful of nutmeg. And about a 1/4 teaspoonful of cinnamon. I'm going to stir that well. and leave it on the very lowest heat possible. I want it to stay hot, but I don't want it to boil. Okay, now let's turn our attention toward our rice. I have half stick of butter melted in here, and I have the Arborio rice. Don't rinse it, put it in dry. And what we're going to do here is we want to coat this rice totally with the butter, and then we're going to toast the rice kernels in that butter. So I have, I'm turning this heat up just a little bit. I had it low. Right now I've got it on about 4 out of 9. And I'll watch it because I don't want this rice to burn, but I do want it to toast. So I'm going to watch it closely, give it a stir until I start to smell the toasty aroma. See, we're getting a little sizzle there. But I don't smell it yet, so we're going to stir a little bit longer. Now I smell it. It's like a buttery popcorn, almost nutty smell. Now, the way we rehydrate this rice is a slow process. It's going to take altogether about 20 minutes. So what you see is not all of it. So be prepared. You don't have to stand right here for the whole 20 minutes. But you need to be close. And I have my scalded milk with the spices and the sugar. And by the way, I forgot the salt. About 1/8 of a teaspoonful of salt. And I'm adding a scoop of the milk mixture. And you stir it until it's absorbed. Then another scoop. I'm going about 1/2 cup at a time. You could go up to a cup. Turn the heat down. Stir it until it's absorbed. And as you stir this, you feel the starch forming, and it feels heavier and heavier. So when it's absorbed and it starts feeling heavy, another scoop. And don't be impatient with this. I'm going to add this 1 scoop at a time until I only have about 1 scoop left. I'll be back. This has been 18 minutes and I have just 1 scoop of milk left. So we're going to test this. And if you've noticed, as I've been stirring it, I wasn't here the whole time. I let it sit and simmer without me, a couple minutes at a time. Between scoops. So we're going to test this. This should be, all the crunch should be cooked out, but it should still have some body, like al dente pasta. Let it cool a little bit. And that's what we have. And oh, it's so sweet. I don't mean it's too sweet. I mean it's lovely sweet. And if you'll see, it's soaked up almost all of that liquid. And I'm turning the heat off. Okay, I'm kind of limited on space here, but we're going to temper our eggs. And tempering the eggs just means we add a little hot liquid to the eggs so that the volume of the eggs is more than the volume of the liquid. Before we add the eggs to the main dish, because the main dish is pretty hot, and if we just poured them directly in there, we would have scrambled eggs. And scrambled eggs are good, but we're not making scrambled eggs. The dogs are barking. I'm going to add an additional knob of butter. And when the butter's all melted, I'm going to pour in my quarter cup of half and half. And yes, if I'd had heavy cream, I would be pouring in a quarter cup of heavy cream. Okay, let's taste this. We're tasting for seasoning, for sugar. And that the rice is al dente. And yes, I have here a 6-cup baking dish. I'm not putting this in a long flat baking dish because I want this to be deep. And creamy. We're going to bake this for 45 minutes. As always, we'll check a little bit ahead. Check it at 35 minutes. This was at 35 minutes. And it comes out clean. So it's done. And Bessie thinks so too. We're going to let this cool for about 10 minutes and then plate it up. Okay, here we go. I waited almost 10 minutes. It's still really hot, steam coming off of it, but I think it's okay to eat. A rice pudding can be served cold, hot, room temperature. It's a very versatile dessert. Let's talk about variations. Many people add raisins or other dried fruit right before you put it in the oven. This particular bread pudding, I used brown sugar to give it a caramel flavor. But you can do it with all white sugar. Taste it. You may like a little less. You may like a little more. I use artificial sweeteners, so Sometimes my measurements are not exactly right. This is not exactly right for sugar. This could be served with whipped cream. This could be served with just warm milk. My particular favorite is a little ice cream. While it's still warm and the ice cream melts. Let me try that. And yes, it's sugar-free ice cream. Caramel flavored from the brown sugar. Nice vanilla flavor from the ice cream. This is a very rich treat. And when you make it with the Arborio rice, you get a wonderful texture that's a little bit different than if you use the regular long grain rice that most folks are used to using. Give this a shot. Try your own variation. Make it your own. I hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch. See you again tomorrow.